welcome everybody to the, what is today? March 21st Economic Development Committee meeting. Thank you all for coming. I will start by asking for an approval of today's agenda. Need a motion?
I would like to add to the agenda.
Oh.
The last Scappoose City Council meeting, Columbia PUD came forth with a discussion on electrical needs for the Commerce Center and Columbia County in general. And I thought we should put that on the agenda on how that affects economic development.
We do that, I guess. We talked about it a little bit with Heidi and Paul last month.
Yeah, I'm just going to say what I've said before. If you want to add agenda items, please do them before we send out the agenda, because we put this out for the public to see. That way they know what the Economic Development Committee is going to be talking about. And we've been pretty consistently adding agenda items last minute. So that's all I'm going to throw out.
You have the.
What I'd like to do is just bring it up and then talk about what our next steps would be, as opposed to just wait.
Chair Jeanette's raising her hand online.
Matt.
I agree with you, NJ, as not putting it in the agenda. If you guys want to review what the presentation, I would suggest to watch the last council meeting where Mike Sykes and one of his colleagues did present on what we can do. It's a discussion. It was more of letting us know there's really at this point nothing that we can do, but it is good information to know as we move forward.
It is something that we talked about in the last session, so isn't something that we could talk about in addition to a session.
So you as the committee always have the right to add things to the agenda. I'm just putting out cautionary advice of why we set it a week in advance.
Right, I understand that, and I don't think that we're necessarily presenting a new topic because we did discuss it briefly in the previous topic. We could talk about it in the approval of the minutes. We could address it additionally there.
I mean, if you're gonna be adding substantive comment, if you're gonna talk about it at all. Again, I'm not saying you can't. I'm just explaining why why we list out the topics in advance, so that if the public's interested, they can show up to this meeting.
NJ, this just occurred on Monday. So it would be what you're saying is that it's impossible for us to discuss something within a 5-day window, but everything would have to always be 5 weeks later. I would understand if this didn't happen on Monday, but it happened on Monday.
That's a fair point.
I would like to briefly discuss it, and then we can add it to our agenda.
We don't have to go into detail. It would just be more of, just put it on the agenda. Yeah.
Okay. Adding it as a 2.4.
Aye.
Mr. Mayor.
Joe Beck, Scappoose. Just to give you a heads up, I mean, I like this as an agenda item to discuss, but I just want to maybe look out at maybe next month. You can have someone here from PUD to speak, but also Sprint is making their decision next week. It's by the end of the month that will really change things. So the discussion today, really, you won't get anything out of it because there's a lot of things happening next week. And by inviting somebody or getting some more information, you can go into more depth and detail.
Okay, I definitely think that's what we want to do for next month also. For summarizing.
Yeah, we don't even need to put it on there.
Thank you. So I have a motion, I have a second and a vote. Yes. Okay, now it's 2.4. Thank you. So I still need an approval for the agenda as it stands with the addition. Okay, I have a second. Second. Thank you, Sean. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Okay. Approval for the minutes from February 15th, 2024. Motion. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Carl. All in favor? Yes, perfect. Thank you. And we are off to public comment. Miss JJ has something to say.
Always has.
What? You're such a quiet bunny. I can't imagine that's true.
No. Hello, I'm JJ Duran, Vice Chair of Scappoose Parks, and
the Queen of Earth Day. Well, actually, I'm going to be Mother Nature on Earth Day, like I was last year. Just give you a quick update about it. We've got all our sponsors lined up. We are in the green on that, and it's going to be a really fun time. We're going to give away another electric bike. Sean, bless his soul, is going to be donating burgers and hot dogs for the food. Also got Fultano's Pizza donating pizza for volunteers. Fred Meyer is going to be providing breakfast for all of the volunteers that are doing beautification projects in the morning. We have live music. So it should be a great time, and I'm sure we'll have a ton of people turn out. And the summer festival is going great too.
20 days.
Now. It is,
20th?
it's April 20th, 2024.
That would be 420.
Yeah, okay,
Okay.
all
I know
right.
where you're going with that, JJ.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Trying to get off that road as quickly as possible.
Any other updates on the?
The Summerfest is moving along great. We're getting sponsors. We have a number of fun things to do. I was talking to NJ earlier. He's going to be in charge of the Campfire Stories tent. We have the Bigfoot Center is going to be setting up a booth. We have sponsors that'll be setting up booths. Next Adventure will be one of our sponsors. Bimart wants to sponsor, and they're just back at corporate, going back and forth. But yeah, I'm excited.
I have a couple sponsors. I just have to go pick up their sheet today.
I really appreciate that. And Christine, by the way, volunteered to chip in money for the sauerkraut sandwich, which we're, because it is the outdoor festival. We're also trying to do a little homage to the sauerkraut festival, and people loved it, and it's a fundraiser for the community club. So we're really excited that you're helping sponsor that portion of it, and the community club is really excited as well.
Of course, whatever I can do. Are we still having Dunk Tank? Isn't June?
Yeah, Dunk Tank is in. Well, yeah, we got the Dunk Tank.
Ryan said he would fund it.
And he's not here, but yeah.
He's not here. Well, and you might want to tell him that now it was $10,000 now.
I did confirm. He said 700 was what he's ponying in.
Right, but if he wants to give us 1,000, we'll take it.
I did try to. He's really tight on the 7.
All right, all right. Well,
Thank you for your work.
well, maybe you can do some volunteer work with us. That'd be great. We always need help. We need lots of volunteers on that day because we've got a lot going on. I reached out to Cindy Eads. I don't know how many of you know her. She was an art teacher at the school, I think the high school, years ago. And maybe she can help with the art show we're doing for kids. Because basically the way that's going to work is that we're going to have a nature art show for children. And they can turn in art before the event at the library, but we'll also have a big craft table where they can create for those procrastinating artists, and then we'll give out prizes for a juried art show for
Fantastic.
kids. Yeah. Anything else?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other comments? Okay, so our next item is 2.1, and it is regarding our first urban renewal grant request by Casey Keller, and she is online. But first, I am to read this statement, since this is our very first one. This is kind of a directive. So, the Economic Development Committee will now begin reviewing an application for the Scappoose Urban Renewal Grant Program. Staff has deemed the application before us complete to be reviewed by our committee and the Urban Renewal Agency. This meeting today is strictly to allow the applicant to present their proposal and for us to ask questions of the applicant or city staff. When we meet in June, we will discuss the merits of this application and others submitted during the same period and ultimately make our formal recommendation to the Urban Renewal Agency. For this meeting, we are just gathering information. Casey and Brian Keller have submitted an urban renewal grant request for the sidewalk improvements for their commercial rental property at 33611 and 33615 East Columbia Avenue. Their property currently hosts a hair salon, a real estate agent, and a family therapy center as a tenant business. Casey and Byron are requesting a grant of $5,500. The quote provided by the contractors was for $11,750, but $750 of that is for the city right-of-way permits, which is not a reimbursable expense under the Urban Renewal Grant Program guideline, making $11,000 the total eligible project cost. The applicant has committed to the one-to-one matching requirement of the grant program. Before we begin the applicant's presentation, does anyone on the Economic Development Committee wish to declare a financial, business, or family conflict of interest in the review of this application? Thing? Has anyone had any communication with the applicant related to this project outside of the Economic Development Committee meetings? Thank you. We will now begin the applicant's presentation. Casey? Hello. Welcome to the EDC.
You're currently muted, Casey.
Byron, I don't want to leave you out.
Should be in the right side of the upper ribbon. It's a microphone looking thing. It just says mic.
So while they're working that out, you said that that company was going to make their decision next week. Decision based on whether they're going to occupy St. Helens and Scappoose or just St. Helens? Okay, because of the power. Okay, thank you.
For record purposes, can we have the people speak on the, in the microphone for people online, please? Thank you.
Thanks, Christine. Or thanks, Jeanette. Casey, in your upper ribbon, do you see it? It should say chat and then people and then raise. Can you nod if you see that? Looks. Oh.
Definitely unmuted now, but.
I can't hear you.
You should call in. Call into the number.
Isn't there a phone number she can call?
There is. So it's in the phone number to call in is in the calendar meeting invite.
You, no, that's fine. Well, probably good.
Try one thing real quick.
Gonna call her.
No.
Calling you.
Our application a little confusing. I thought that the address being discussed would be. Yeah, I looked up multiple addresses and nope, that's not.
Okay, Casey, can you call 971 337 3491?
Because it's their mailing address and their business address, but in
Sure, that's where they have their.
summary, I think the should be.
I think we should make the application a little clearer. Maybe we can do a motion for that.
Yeah, we can't change it.
Billy?
Oh, I don't know these things. Who was the chiseler?
Monday.
Oh, he was busy.
Chair, I would recommend either calling for a short recess while we get this figured out or making a motion to switch the order of the agenda.
Thank you. I would completely agree. Thank you so much. I think while we get them set up, I would like to make a motion to move on to 2.10 I move to 2.4? Let's just slide 2.4. Okay, we're gonna slide 2.4 in. Get up.
A second?
Thank you. Oh, everybody good?
Yep.
Yes, thank you. Okay, 2.4. Council meeting update.
Well, no, I just wanted to, so those who have not watched it on the EDC is that there was a long discussion by the PUD at the council meeting regarding electrical needs for Scappoose, namely in the Commerce Center. And that we are competing with St. Helens and basically all of Columbia County with regards to transmission, not just electricity. And we should all watch that. But the biggest takeaway is that there is needs and concerns about high usage occupants down the road, and that Ed Freeman, who also was there and presented, he stated that this kind of took him as a shock that he didn't know about this and found out via something he got from Paul Vogel in February. So I thought it would be a good idea for us to invite Ed here just to hear his concerns, because it's probably been a disconnect. And if there's anything we could do to help, because he kind of felt like it seemed to me that there was he could use maybe someone reaching out. And since we are the Economic Development Committee, and that the Commerce Center is a big part of our future, that we should talk to him directly on it.
You can hear us?
Yes, we can hear you.
Can you hear me now? Hello?
Hey, Casey, I can hear you now on the computer.
Yay, I don't know what changed, but you know, we're both in our 70s, so we're sometimes technically challenged.
All good. I'm glad we got it figured out. Hey, the committee moved around the agenda a little bit just so that we weren't stalling the meeting. So your item will be next. So they're just going to finish up this topic, okay?
Understood.
Thank you.
Push anything. Yeah, I think it would be a good idea. Do you think, NJ, that we can invite Ed Freeman and Mr. Sykes to address that with us?
Yes, just coming in on this, that makes sense.
Okay.
Keep in mind, this is a problem that's everywhere. It's not just here. With all the data centers and everything that have gone in the past 5 years, most of the country is stressed on grid capacity. So one of the reasons places may have looked at St. Helens is because it seemed to be a place where they could locate where the stress wasn't.
You see.
With a high, a plant that needs that much electricity.
Is the business?
It's solar or panel manufacturing. So, and we did discuss this in our last meeting. We brought up, is it just this particular business, or would it be impactful for all of the industrial property out there?
I think it's worthwhile for us to watch the PUD presentation because it was really good.
Okay.
And just overall, for us to address how will that impact economic development here in Scappoose?
I agree with that.
They said that we have no stuff at the airport.
David,
No, that's,
you talk into the microphone.
I think to summarize here is difficult because it is a pretty long presentation, but overall, there's only so much capacity. If a large player came in, they would take quite a lot. And then there would be nothing left. And it would take years and years and years to build that capacity back up.
16 to 20 in the meeting.
But I think it'd behoove all of us just to watch that portion of the presentation. So we're all up to speed on it.
Thank you for bringing that up. Not further discussion. Let's go back to Casey. Casey and Byron, you're up again.
Oh, hello. Thank you for your tolerance.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think you have the proposal in front of you and the bid from the concrete company.
Yep.
From Wallace.
Yes,
Is
correct.
that? Oh, okay. So we were not actually planning to do this, but we weren't in the loop. We had no idea of your plans for this area. And when the sidewalk corner went in, on the corner of Third and Columbia, which is at the edge of our property, all of a sudden things did not look right any longer. So we found out that you had plans to upgrade this area. And of course, we want to be a part of that. We were not planning this, nor were we budgeted for it, but our hearts are in it. But we didn't think we could do it. And then someone told us about the urban renewal grant that may be available to us. So we would like to work with the city's plan, and if we can get a grant. And you can see that what we're asking to do is nothing strange or unusual for the building, but rather completing, being a part of the community upgrade by putting in the concrete on the front, improving a little concrete in front of our building, which is old and cracked, and connecting to that estranged corner that has been put there for handicap purposes. But for people that are handicapped, it's gravel going to that area. That would complete the look. For the city, it's not a necessity for us, but again, in good faith, we'd like to be a part of it if we can get that help from the urban renewal grant. And if you look at the reason that the price is pretty reasonable for Wallace, he is the property behind us, and he is wanting to improve his property as well. So the reason that the sidewalks and the whole front there is reasonably priced is he put it contingent, if you'll look at the end of his bid, based on him doing the work at the same time as he does his work, because there's equipment that he will have already rented, and he can make that all happen all at once, which keeps our portion of it cost effective if we can get this grant.
Now we can ask questions. So
Absolutely.
Wallace is, I'm thinking that that's that little white house.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes. Yeah,
So-
that's Wallace's Concrete that purchased that, and he's already done some work for you.
So is he a concrete contractor or is he a construction company? Because it says construction.
Well, I believe he's. a
And ultimately,
concrete-
the question is, do we get any other bids? I understand that he has buy-in, but I'm wondering, typically the city requires multiple bids, and I don't know if that's a requirement for this.
No, it's because it's a private project that the city is just providing a reimbursement grant for. It's not a public project
So
in that sense.
we didn't necessarily need to, nor did we get additional bids for that piece.
And again, like Casey mentioned, this is a really, really good quote for the work that's being done.
Okay. And then my other question is to the city. I'm so glad Chris is here. Why is it that we made the corner handicap accessible, but the leading sidewalk is left gravel, which would of course be an impediment to somebody who's ADA?
So this work was completed as a part of the Columbia River PUD frontage improvements. So we collaborated with them on that sidewalk. So the attempt was, when you do curb returns with ADA ramps on one corner, you should typically do the receiving side. On their frontage, on the corner lot that Casey's referring to, there were no sidewalks at all. And so we had looked at proposing to then, we were going to do the curb return there, but it because the rest of their frontage was all gravel, there would be a gap, essentially a sidewalk gap between Highway 30 and 4th Street where we would have had continuous sidewalk. So we decided to spend a few extra dollars just to link curb return on 3rd and Prairie with the sidewalk in front of the CenturyLink building. So there was a continuous path and not a gap. So that's why we did that.
Okay.
What Casey is describing is there's a gap between that new sidewalk and the door to the business on the corner there. There's a bit of a gap
For the log
there.
cabinets?
Yeah, right. And that's just because there was never a sidewalk there, but we couldn't do work on the private property. So we stayed in the right of way and built what would be the ultimate improvements there in front of that.
Okay.
Just enough to complete the sidewalk and make it continuous.
So this would not only create the sidewalk, but it would also create the pathway to their building on their property.
Correct. And take out some existing concrete and fix that and.
Okay, those are my questions. What do you got?
You said, does Wallace want to start at a certain time, or is he okay waiting until this all goes through the approval process?
It's, his is, I think his is in line behind ours because he
Oh.
also is submitting something. And so when his gets approved, hopefully, then this would be kind of the package deal. He'd be paying for his portion. We'd be paying for our portion if it all comes together. But the reason that we didn't get more quotes is that it is you know, we had actually put feelers out, but it was so far below what we would probably be charged because he is taking advantage. He's done concrete work, that the corner out there and everything was done by him, was hired by him. So because he has the equipment and because the equipment that he has to rent, he would give us a break on because he'd be doing all of that work at once, which makes sense.
So is there a part two to this,
What do you,
Mr. Wallace?
so Wallace Construction Company is applying for site development review on Third and Prairie, which is north of where Casey's property is.
Little White House.
No, it's not on do you mean on Columbia? Because it's not that.
No, it's the one behind the one behind.
Yes, yes, yeah,
Mhm.
that's the one.
So, but it sounds like he's gonna also apply for a grant to help with some of those improvements that ties into this. And I think we don't make a recommendation, I think, until
June.
June.
Yeah.
So as long as he submits it before then, we could assess them together.
He likely won't submit by then, just because of how long site development review takes. I know, those planners.
Well, but that's, okay.
Yeah.
It might be interesting, but then that means the work wouldn't be done until, because he would do it together. So it's almost like,
Casey, am I remembering right? Did he say around September or so?
He said sometime the end of summer, so
Okay.
September, it falls in that late summer, early fall
Mm-hmm.
time period.
Okay, that's good to know. And these grant approvals, they're good for 12 months, just so you all know.
okay.
Okay, and just to be clear, you know, we do have a sidewalk where the log cabin comes down to the front and then there's just gravel. But people would park in that area. So it really didn't bother anything. But if you look at it, the sidewalk, because of the way they lined up, sets way out from there. So we have access to our buildings. It's just that little corner looks kind of strange and estranged. And that's what kind of stimulated us to kind of try to pull it all together.
We kind of talked, the only other question I have is more for the city. We got, so that the form itself didn't actually, I think when we had business information, we were expecting to see the address of where the improvements were going to be made, is what we all said in our head. But the way they filled it out is probably technically correct. Their business information has their home as their.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
would
and
love.
we didn't know the actual address until we had your summary.
Yep.
No, that's a good catch. I appreciate that. We'll do a better job as staff making sure that they're, you know, like you all can see it through the lens of where the improvements are actually going to take place.
Right,
Yeah,
so
it
then we would be
actually
able to check
asked
it
for
out.
our mailing. It actually asked for our mailing address. So that's the way I. filled
Yeah,
it
yeah, no,
out.
this is not on you. This is.
No, in the second section, it does say the business address. It has upper mailing address and lower business address.
Okay, I missed that.
I have one more question about,
Subsidiary.
thank you. So there is a small section of sidewalk that's going to be redone,
Yeah, it looks like in the pictures.
right? And so is there a bond required for the work that's going to be in the public right away?
I
Like
don't
a-
think there's any sidewalk there's gravel where your sidewalk would be. The part of the concrete that's being replaced is in the front of our building, I believe. And that's the part that we're wanting to make it all match, so it looks
I see.
nice.
Is that concrete on your property and not in the right of way then?
Yes. Where
Okay.
the sidewalk would go, as far as we can tell, that's where we have gravel and people pull up and park there.
So are you proposing to replace the sidewalk in front of the yellow building, in front of the hair salon?
What came out of a meeting that we had, was that we're replacing the concrete that's in front of our building, plus what was asked of us, because we just wanted to do that to begin with, and they said, no, you need to do the sidewalk and the curb to match that corner unit, which is actually the city's, where the city would put in a sidewalk.
I see. So what you have that looks old is on your property, not in the public right of way, but you
That is-
will be, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, we believe that to be correct, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
And so then in addition to that, you would be adding a sidewalk and curb in front of that.
That is correct. And
Okay.
tying it all together to make it look cohesive and going straight down to match into that corner that is put there that looks a little estranged at this time.
So, okay, I'm clear now. Thank you so much for clarifying.
Uh-huh.
So would there be a performance bond that would be part of the permit
I'll let
process?
the city engineer take that one.
So typically for sidewalk repairs, this is kind of a first where we've done sidewalk improvements like this. But typically a project of this scale, we wouldn't require a bond. 'Cause it launches us into a whole lot of other paperwork that costs a lot of money and time and effort. And, but we'll expect them to give us like a 1-year warranty on it without a bond. So,
Are there design standards like 2,500 pound mud or,
yeah, we have what we call the Public Works Design Standards. It specifies all of that.
okay,
And so we'll be inspecting it. That's a part of our fee. Process that, there's pages of requirements in our right-of-way permit, and then we'll be inspecting it all the way through. And we'll be helping also a little bit with the layout, since likely not to get a plan and profile, stamped engineer drawings on this, so.
And I will say that, we're on a bit of a budget because we weren't planning on doing this at all. Like I said, that corner was a surprise, and the work in front of our building, we got calls from our renters and we weren't notified. We had no idea. And I guess when we called in, they said, you're not obligated to let us know. But it was a bit of a surprise. So we will only be moving forward on this project if it stays within budget and we can get, some matching funds here. Otherwise, it may be more than what we want to move forward with.
Thank you, Casey. I guess my only question is, if she ends in front of the end of her one building, then how is that going to be cohesive with the telephone company?
It goes right up into that building. So our property line, it's almost as if they're built right on the property line. These properties are older. And so we will be taking it right up into their building and right to the sidewalk, right to where the edge of their building.
So is that
We're
something
not-
is it going to be odd to have it? I feel like we're just kind of putting a Band-Aid, like we did a little portion, and then we're gonna do their portion, and then we're gonna have this part in front of CenturyLink that's unfinished.
Right. Well,
So
we can't.
CenturyLink does have a sidewalk there.
That this will blend into. and be cohesive.
Yeah, it'll be, it depends on where you're walking on, like on you'd have to transition sort of, towards the building to stay on the sidewalk in front of CenturyLink, but there is a sidewalk there.
Okay.
If you look at it carefully, there's actually a curb out about 4 feet from where the CenturyLink sidewalk is. It's just been buried by overlays. And that alignment where that curb is visible is essentially the alignment for all the curbs on East Columbia. It's just that it's been buried by overlays over the years.
Okay.
So we're reestablishing that line. It essentially exists from the highway all the way to 4th Street. It's the same alignment, not changing the alignment.
But I think. the
It'll be
plan-
cohesive.
Go ahead, Casey.
Well, when we were looking at it, because of where they've put the corner out, I believe where we originally wanted to go out to, we were told, no, we want you to go all the way out to this point. I think we're gonna be beyond the sidewalk in front of CenturyLink.
Yeah, if you take from 3rd Street, you have the two corners and you're moving a straight line down Columbia Boulevard where the new sidewalk is. We're just extending that on to the front of the CenturyLink. Putting in
Yes.
line what you have already established.
On that
We
side.
have somebody add a top-down map and an actual sketch of what is going, we're using words, we're not all gonna get the same picture in our head. Oh,
I think we should just go out there, like it's right
Yeah,
there.
and so
After this meeting, let's go out there.
these photos are from the side, something that's a Google Maps from the down with just a block of here's where that would make everybody.
I think what's most helpful if you just start with what was put in on the corner. I mean, that's the new line. You just have to go straight down from there. And we weren't going to go out that far initially. And then in our preview meeting with the engineer, they said, no, you need to go straight down. So I think you have to go out to that little corner that's already in there and look straight down, and that'll tell you where it will end. And we're proposing going just as far as the CenturyLink building, because obviously we don't want to pay to do the sidewalk in front of CenturyLink.
Chris, will you field trip us?
I mean, I'm happy to walk that with you if you want.
Definitely take a
It's challenging to build. If they were to just replace the existing concrete in front without extending it out, it'd be challenging to set that grade, knowing, because you don't know where the curb is supposed to be 4 feet out from there. And what might happen is the grades would be adverse, like you'd have it slope towards the building for 4 feet and then ramp back up to the building, that point towards the building, and you'd have a V notch kind of in the sidewalk. So in order to void that, now they could not do that piece of it if they opted to, although a portion of it, I believe, is in the right of way. They'd be rebuilding anyway. So they'd have to kind of find this magic elevation that would work, and it'd be challenging.
So the standard process for this is a civil engineer is hired by the property owner, and usually that's $10,000 or $15,000. Then they submit their plans to the city, and the city charges a fee for reviewing those plans. Then a surveyor goes out and, for an additional cost, is staking the line where the new curb would go and how high. And he's trying to tie the two blocks together in perfect alignment. And it sounds like Chris is willing to I'm really impressed that they're willing to work with property owners to try to mitigate some of the expenses.
Very kind, Chris. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great description. This could be much more involved. We spent months and months and months on the PUD site because of all these issues of trying to get new curb to line up with existing. We had to have survey go out twice to get extra survey. We actually have survey all the way to Second Street. On both sides, we have all the ramps. We had to do an evaluation of centerline profile and do averages and then figure out how much we want to cut on East Columbia to get the grades back where they should be, because the county's just been doing overlays for years and years and years. So it's really a mess. It's hard to do these infill projects without doing a lot of work. And so we have a lot of that information, and I've spoken with the contractor about that. We're going to, we have good curb elevations on the south. We're going to try to use those and match them on the north. So I think we can make it work without going down the path of all the engineering, which could be, easily $10,000. Easily.
Yeah,
Okay,
for
anything
us, we're seniors and we're a small mom and pop organization and, more than 5,000, 6,000, and unfortunately we'd be out.
Don't vote on it. We just hear it.
Okay.
Okay.
Good.
Okay. Thank you so much,
Yeah,
Casey
thanks
and
for your time.
Byron.
Thank you, Casey.
Alright.
Thank you, Byron.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so that moves us to 2.2. We saw last week, all of us, or not last week, I beg your pardon, last month, the Travel Oregon's marketing plan. It was lovely. Paul was not here for that discussion. We would like that, but we know that Paul is very well versed with the presentation since he was on that. He participated in the creation of. And so we would love to have a discussion about the Travel Oregon's brand and how that can be impactful to really the city of Scappoose. And certainly the county is involved in that, but we'd love to have your thoughts and of course a discussion.
Thank you. Yeah, so I was part of the Columbia Economic Teams group that put that together. Not from a professional point of view, but from we had 6 to 8 businesses and individuals helping with the branding project. So I think everybody who saw the presentation, the group that did the branding did a great job. And now we're kind of at the first steps. So we have what is the basis for a marketing branding initiative for tourism, and economic development is tourism kind of go together. And so now the questions that people have been kind of asking is, how does Scappoose fit into that? And there's lots of ways we could approach this, but I choose to not do a bottom down approach, but I usually top down, bottom up, top down. And I think we should go back to the Columbia Economic Team and ask them, okay, so now you've got your branding for the county. Now, how does the cities fit in? Because it's not going to be just us that's trying to fit into this branding. It'll be us and 4 other cities. So I don't know if they have a plan yet, but I would ask them, and they might need more resources as well. One of the things might be is that, okay, now you have this overarching brand. How do we now take this and sub-brand it between the 5 cities so it's a unified approach? Whatever we do, we should be unified with the other cities. That then builds right back up to that brand. So instead of us trying to figure it out, I think we should actually put that back on them and say, okay, what is your plan now to bring this to the city level? Because without each city being a part of it, it's not going to be a success.
Paul here? I don't see him. He said he was going to be here. They both said they were going to be.
Now, any thoughts or?
I would totally agree with that. And whether it's they tell us or we all get in a room together and figure it out, it's not okay, now the cities figure out what to do with it. If we don't all align, it's going to go nowhere. So I agree. But county's already got all the information. If they got a nice leadership I would love to see them take a leadership role in getting everybody on the same page.
I certainly understand that it's their brand, but how can we support that brand?
So I'd like to ask that, like, the next steps would be is that we bring them back in and pose these questions to them.
I was. Okay. Right, so let's invite them again next time.
We pose those questions to them without them being in the meeting. Send them an email.
That's a good start.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll document. Here are our questions.
And
Thank you, Carl.
What's the branding?
What's the plan and how can we
Yeah.
support you as a city?
we're excited about the brand. We can't wait to get it implemented. We think we all need to align. Do you have a plan and how can we help?
What is the plan at the city level?
Yeah.
How have you? Are you forecasting to make it cohesive?
Across the 5 cities?
Correct.
Anything else? I have 3. You know, this will take Paul a long time to address. Very thorough. Okay, all right, well, thank you so much. So moving on to our next one. I told you we'd get out of here early.
5 minutes.
2.3. Oh, except Carl's up, so
Uh,
enunciate.
this will be very straightforward. So we've got this outline, a lot of consternation on it, but I think a lot of there's engagement in the fact that, all right, let's see what we can do with this thing. Everybody's on board with it. So the question is, how do we want to attack it? We could divide and conquer. We could do a 1 section a month and divide up different like research efforts and things to fill in. Everybody can just send me thoughts on everything and I can compile it. Looking for whatever is most effective and efficient for. Oh, thoughts.
All right, I didn't have my. That's Paul.
Also, how to attack this. And I was like, because, okay, you guys are the experts on a lot of this stuff. So all of this stuff for me would be research and interviewing people and doing the whole 9 yards. So, be a lot longer. So whatever's easiest for y'all is, I'm going.
Well, no,
Chair
so
Jeanette has her hand up. Sorry to cut you off, Paul.
Yeah, so I'm gonna try to keep this short. I'm sorry, I'm coming from pneumonia, so if I talk too much, I start choking. But I do want to say thank you, Carl, for meeting with me. It's been maybe almost a few weeks on this particular topic. I know that we talked about working with council in order to really refine what your role is as a committee and as this particular plan. And it would help, I guess, being that the mayor is also there, if you can actually give us a little background on a little bit of the conversation on your thoughts, particularly on this strategic plan versus the branding of say the economic for the city versus economic development strategic plan. Does that make sense? The conversation you and I had.
We touched on it a couple things. So you want the difference between what this is and like a branding package.
Right. And we had a clarification just for everyone to be on the same page.
Right. So what this is really intended to be is a roadmap, right? I mean, if you've ever been in a business with a strategic plan, some of them have them, some of them don't. It's a very clear, like, here's where we want to go. Here's where we are today. Here's a bunch of information about the environment, and here's the direction we want to head with things. So it is not code. It's not direction to council. It's not anything. It's simply it's a strategic plan, right? It's a documentation of the vision we see for the city and some suggestions and some recommendations on a package, a holistic package of how to move in that direction. That way council can use it as a handbook, a guide, as things come up over the course of the years. They could tap into this information and be, okay, we want to move it in this direction. We're going to make decisions this way. Totally different than a 50-year plan or a branding package. That's very much an out front. Here's who we are. Just giving direction, like implementing certain things. Nothing out of here is like, again, should be taken as directive to anybody on city staff or anything to go implement. I think I go back to like, why is this committee a committee? If you look at it, it's actually charter. It says really is to develop and to maintain the economic development strategic plan. It's like, okay, well, what is that? Do we have one? Not really. Well, let's make one. So that answer your question, Jeanette?
Yes, I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page. And if a mayor has anything to add, that'd be great.
Thank you. No, I agree. I mean, if you do kind of look at the charter even more, it does mention strategic plan specifically. So I think this is a good area for you guys. I just think us on council don't understand it real well. And so we'd like, you to be able to explain it to us and explain the process of how we're going to do that, because when we're looking at it, we're looking at staff time, staff involvement. How much are you guys going to be doing? If you give us an outline of what the process is going to be, what you guys are going to do, when we should see something, I think that's great.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the process is completely outside of staff other than to slip drafts into these meetings for people to review. So it's, and as far as timeline, it's as we can. I mean, if it takes 6 months to flesh this all out, it takes 6 months. I'm not real concerned about speed as long as we're making progress and putting good information, because at the end of the day, a good package to give to council for understanding, really clearly define where we are, where we think this group thinks we should go, and what are the steps to get there, I think is invaluable. Because in the year that I've been here, a lot of good ideas are thrown out at this table, a lot of history, a lot of knowledge, but it's never been really packaged up in an actionable way for council to be able to be like, here's all the things you could do, and here's why this thing is the right thing to do for where we think we want to go. That's what this should do.
Okay. Direction.
So
Well, so first of all, does that answer your question, Mayor?
Yeah, I think it does. I mean, I think when you combine two, she had asked too about the branding, and we had kind of put on hold the overall branding that we were going to look at. But I think it is good now that CET has come out with a program branding. See what that is. How does that encompass the whole county? Where do we fit? And then we can look at it then and say, okay, maybe we do reopen our branding exercise, or how can we help them on theirs? So I don't think this is necessarily opening up our new branding program, asking them to get involved, because they've come up with this. How does it relate? What do they expect out of our cities? Because they're a group, they're not even the county. I know the county's real high on what they've done and real excited to get involved too. So I think we work with county, St. Helens, these other cities, and how can we help promote their branding exercise? And then how does it relate with us? And it might give us some more clarity going forward on our branding program as well.
this doesn't have anything
Separate than that. And the other one is, you're doing it today, I see, is we are going to talk about committees and their roles. And I think we've just kind of touched on two of the main ones: urban renewal grant applications and the strategic plan at this time. And I think those are two of the big ones, I think, urban renewal that you're working on, that we'd expect you to continue to do.
Those were our 2 goals for the year.
So Mayor, when you say that, do you have a concern about, like for instance, staff time? Like, is that one of your biggest concerns about staff time and committees? Kind of felt that way, what you just said.
Not necessarily staff time. I mean, if it's something that we feel that's necessary and we can put money and time towards, and we would like to do that. I think the goal is, I've asked our council to look at our couple committees and ask for some help on my end. What do they see out of you? What do they want from our committees? Are we tasking you with things to do? Are you guys coming up with ideas and coming back and say, these are things we want to work on? I want some clarity from council of what they want out of both, mainly you guys in Parks and Rec going forward, especially with all these master plans coming done. Where do we go forward? Yes, because staff time is a concern, but if it's required and warranted, then we will do that. But that's what I want from them is, are you guys going to try to come up with plans and thoughts and ideas, or are we going to task you with ideas?
So is the 50-year plan, the work product that has been produced by the committees? The last time I asked this was maybe 2 or 3 months ago, and there was nothing to share. So we would like to see. I don't sit on those committees, and I think that 1 or 2 of us do, but that doesn't mean that it gets shared commonly with everyone.
And the plan itself is months
Well,
away from completion.
The land use plan. It's strictly what it is. But going back to that, Mayor, I think this is a good discussion to have because I think there's a lot of areas that, number one, we feel, we're our time is wasted. Number two, I think there's a lot of areas that staff gets involved and they don't really need to. And by that, I mean, like we don't need to be micromanaged. We don't need like meetings upon meetings to figure out the agenda. I mean, we have 3 items on the agenda. I mean, we don't even need a meeting for it. We also feel that at times things have been dumped on us, like no one wants to do it. So let's see if they'll do it because it's a crappy job. And it's not even within our scope. And so the thing about this is that if you look at it and go, look at our charter, what we're supposed to be all about, people go, what are you doing for economic development? I mean, I'd have a hard time to answer that right now because we really haven't gotten a lot done here. And so what we're trying to do with this document is say, okay, what is going to define a great economic situation for Scappoose? Now, this is a big picture in some ways, but you can break it down. So where are we with tourism? Tourism is economic development. Where are we with recreation? Where are we with industry? Where are we with small business? And you start looking at it and go, what's best practices in this area? And then we can define those best practices. So then we can come back and say, you know what, if we really want to be about small business, other places have done this, 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 and this. If we want to be about tourism, we have to do this, 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 and this. We can recommend that. And then council can decide, you know what, we want to put resources here or not resources here. Staff can put time here or not. But that's where we can come back and continue to build on this plan. And I think that's the goal here, right?
True. So my question was, is there any information available from the other committees that we can look at?
Yeah, so the Parks and Rec Committee, they just finished putting together the Parks Master Plan that was adopted by council recently. You mentioned the 50-year plan, David. All of the most recent documents, so the economic opportunities analysis, housing capacity analysis, that's all on the website. It gets updated regularly whenever they make a revision to a product. The 50-year plan committee is a little more difficult because they can sometimes go 6 months between meetings. It just depends on when work products are available. But regardless of where they are, all the information is available.
So you said website, which website?
Please.
City's website.
It's scappoose.gov/vision if you're interested.
And at our last council meeting, we did meet with one of the consultants, our planning commission, and we went over some code zoning, codes on parking and sidewalks and stuff like that. And we're going to continue that next meeting. So that will be, if you look at the work session, 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock hour, probably this time and next meeting, that's part of it.
A lot of thoughts on I've already gone over in other areas, but with engineer here. Can I ask how much, like dollar figure or percentage of the annual budget is spent on repair of the city streets and sidewalks? Not talking about improvements like the wheelchair ramps or the ADA ramps,
I
but
think that's probably in the budget, but is that, I'm trying to I'm reeling us back here if we need to be reeled back here.
Okay. Yes.
But I think
do.
that's in the budget. That's online too.
Online. Okay.
So I'd like to get back to it and say, I think, Carl, maybe we all first take a stab at like kind of bulking up your outline here. And then we can feed it to you. And then we could go over it as a group. And then at that point, maybe we can start taking these bite-sized chunks and then giving to people that like have a real, maybe a expertise or something in that area.
I like that because like I said, I think there's a lot of knowledge that everybody should just brain dump onto this thing, is what I would call it. And then I can organize it and we can come back and see how we polish it from there.
Is there something that we could do? I'm just thinking of our upcoming town hall meeting and maybe like integrate some of this just from a public standpoint. Like somebody approaches our booth that they could have buy-in.
It's a little premature for that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Weeks away.
I realize that, but what, like things that they would like to see? I mean, we've done it before in town hall meetings where we've asked the public what kinds of things they would like to see.
Didn't we do that last year?
We do it every year.
I know, but I mean, we'd have a baseline data
I mean,
from.
we could do that. That could be a feeder to some
Yeah,
information.
that was my only point.
Ask them what they think of the current economic climate in Scappoose and what they would like to see.
So we could have that on at our booth. Carl's running our booth, so that's perfect.
I'm running our booth, apparently. I'm gonna make a note.
I like to all the people.
I think we need to combine that then with last year when we asked, was it last year or 2 years ago where we asked?
I think it was almost 3 years ago when we had it at the other school. We used to have like the mayor would get up and he would.
Yeah,
lead
no,
the-
this was when we were at the high school. But there was the maps and we asked people what they wanted to see.
2022.
Yeah, I think we need that data too. We don't need to ask again. We just
Okay.
need the data.
What are you looking, are you want to incorporate that in the strategic plan here?
Data's all online, right?
We'll take all the data people have and we can choose whether or not to incorporate it.
Where do we go looking for that data online?
NJ has it.
I can send a link.
NJ has
I'll
everything.
point you right to it.
Okay.
Use the right finger, NJ.
As far as location of the true downtown area, that's been on the agenda of this committee for so long. And NJ, if I'm not mistaken, we were waiting for some finalization from 50-year plan before we defined that. Is that correct?
That's exactly correct. Yeah.
With that one, be careful between the definition of downtown on a land use plan versus a downtown in the minds of. I don't know how to say
Okay.
It may not be
that. Right.
exactly the same.
There's the downtown with respect to what gets certain, code restrictions and not, and things like that. And then there's like, you say, we're going to downtown Scappoose, what do people think that is?
Oh, I see.
Cathedral. City Hall. Library.
Is that really what we think?
I'm not sure people have an answer. That could be another question.
Could be one answer.
That should.
It's one
for your
human's
booth.
answer.
Booth.
Your booth.
It's your booth.
Downtown.
Where do you think our downtown is? I think that's a great question.
Where should it be?
They're great questions.
So, Paul, I like your idea in terms of flexing out the outline that we have here a little bit. Is there anything that could be done in this meeting for that?
You mean today?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think what we need to do is, like, I already have a lot of thoughts on this, but I don't have it down on paper.
Sure.
And I'd like to get it on paper because I think just saying it off the cuff wouldn't come across as well.
Okay, that's fair. So do we want to talk about this next meeting too?
We want to talk about it in every meeting.
Ooh.
Will
So-
always be a bullet.
Well, then we need homework or something.
Can we give a timeline on this? I mean, maybe we say in 1 month, we'll get it back to Carl and that,
I think, so I'm actually, you don't know this yet. I won't be at the next meeting.
Neither will I.
Yeah, okay.
I already told you that I wasn't.
Did you?
You were in charge.
I'm not. I can't be.
You're in charge.
Thing I can't. sorry.
We're going to Mexico.
I'm,
Get out.
I wish I was.
Next meeting.
So,
Sean's in charge.
So then, so then basically it's gonna be 2 months. So it's gonna, we give, you give us a date and then give us, you work backward on how long it's gonna take you to, in 2 months to come back and give us our summary,
like, I like the idea of like take the next month to,
to work on it.
to send me stuff. Have more or less, then I have a month to compile it, and then in 2 months' time, we'll have something to start.
More, okay.
We,
And in that time, we'll also have had the city meeting with questions that people are gonna answer from my booth.
Your booth.
can we
We'll be
do
there.
like a shared document where people just load stuff in and then,
Yeah, let's do that.
I was hoping that we'd go kind of old school and maybe we could meet.
can't?
You can't meet outside of these.
Creating policy.
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
You're creating an economic development strategic plan. That's creating policy outside of a public meeting.
Okay, only 3 of us can meet it.
So a shared document, how does that work then?
You can do that because you're not synchronously conjoining your ideas. You're forming something that will eventually show up. It's work that has to be done essentially.
Sharing information.
The cleanest way would just be send your ideas directly to Carl.
I can do it either way if you want to put, we can put a Google, yeah, just email me.
Yeah, that's the cleanest way.
But look, we can do it. I can still post it so everybody has access to it. And then if you'd rather just email me stuff, I can just put it in there. You can do it that way too. I'll be happy. In fact, I'm going to do that. I will make it a shared document and everybody can have access to it. And if you just want to send me stuff, you can.
So I would love for you to organize and that sort of thing, but having, I don't know, it's a filter or deciding what's important, what's not, or I think that it probably all will be important, but just finding the organization for it, probably what needs to happen.
Just do a brain dump and Carl will do it.
Yeah.
You can have his AI do it.
I can do that. That's
So
like,
that way,
that is the skill set I bring to this conversation. I don't have decades of experience on a lot of this stuff. I know how to organize technical information.
Okay, is that okay? You and Jay? Any more about this? Other discussion? Going to take us on a field trip.
On a field trip. Together, be talking about it.
He's just going to point. We won't discuss. He's just going to point.
not voting on.
No, we're not voting. Okay, so
I have a question. Sorry. So NJ, if we have some questions with regards to economic development, with like just some facts and figures, can we go to you?
Yeah.
For that?
Like to put together this plan, like information you'll need for the plan.
Yeah, like, so for instance, we do some background, we say, we have a question on whatever, blah, blah, blah. We can ask you. Great, thank you.
um,
Can you look at maybe copying Jeanette, the liaison, just in case some things come up that you might want from council? Would any questions come up that way that she would?
Only, like, so if I just ask something silly, like a code or whatever, I don't know if we want to bother Jeanette. But we will include Jeanette if we feel like it's something higher level, but I'm talking about some specific stuff, like, so for instance, you know, current revenue from businesses, you know, whatever, blah, 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 or whatever. I don't even know right now, but just,
thing arbitrary that,
Yeah.
I mean, and council and Jeanette, they wouldn't answer, nor would they. NJ question.
But would you want Jeanette in the know, even if she's not the one to answer it? Would you want her in the know of what's going on there?
Yeah, one, it would be nice to know how much work they are creating for you. If you could either, one of you just send it to her, just to know.
Just copy Jeanette. She won't necessarily be the one to answer, but just so she's in the know.
That would be fine. Thank you.
She doesn't. Okay, if there's no more questions, I do expect everybody to attend the April 6th town hall meeting. It's very good. Carl's going to be hosting our booth.
I will not be there.
Fantastic. He could probably use a helper.
I will not be there.
Won't be here.
I have my own booth.
Oh,
Can I just add one too? I think I got word, Senator Merkley will be here for a town hall that same day. Possibly that evening, maybe Scappoose. I think he's trying Scappoose, so just if you,
Is it at the auditorium?
I haven't heard, he had canceled it a couple weeks ago, months ago, it was here. So maybe OMEC, maybe here, but if, I'll let you guys know, but if there's any good economic questions you might have for him, be here to answer those.
That would be good. Fantastic. Okay, so again, April 6th, 9 a.m. There's snacks, breakfast. It's nice. Next meeting will be canceled. We have to vote on that. We're canceling the April 18th meeting, and the next meeting will be May 16th, and then about Earth Day on 4/20, and the city festival is on the date
June 8th.
June 8th. And that's it. Much for coming. And Chris?
Oh, wait, I also have another announcement. Tomorrow is the deadline for anybody that wants to apply for the city council position.
Not eligible.
So just for record purposes, just let you know.
And I just remember too, the CEP grants are open now, community enhancement grants for nonprofits through sometime in May something. So that's online as well to get, nonprofits, get out there and apply.
Okay. So much, Joe. Oh, Chris,